Hello, security pros. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for today's ESX webinar, Providing Better Service with VSaaS. Managed services are not just a consistent source of quality revenue for your business, they are also a better way for customers to get consistent and quality service from you. In this session, you will learn why the managed service model is better for customers and how to effectively communicate this value to increase sales of managed video security solutions. I'm Riley Hogendorn, and I'm excited to lead this ESX webinar today. Before we dive in, I'd like to provide some tips for those of you joining us on your first ESX webinar. Welcome. You will be muted for the duration of the session, but that does not mean we don't want to hear from you. If a question or comment comes to mind at any point during today's session, click the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen, and I'll ensure we save some time for your questions with our experts. We'll also be recording today's webinar so you can rewatch the on-demand session and share it with your colleagues. Make sure you mark your calendars for ESX 2022, the Electronic Security Expo. We will hold this in-person event designed by and for the pro-installed electronic security and life safety channel on June 14th through 17th in Fort Worth, Texas. We at ESA realize your time is valuable, and we appreciate you spending some of that time with us today. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our speakers. Jordan Ramadan is located in the Pacific Northwest, specifically in Seattle. He has been in the security industry for 8 years. He's been with OpenEye for almost 2 years and currently holds a position as Business Development Manager for the Northwest. Joshua DeLeo is a Senior Sales Engineer with OpenEye, and he has been in that position for 6 years. He's been in the industry for 20 years as an integrator and dealer. Okay, Jordan, let's dive in.
Thank you for that brief introduction there, Riley. First and foremost, Josh and I are very excited to be here with ESX and all of you professionals here today. So I will go ahead without further ado, share my screen here and really kind of dive into our PowerPoint, where this will kind of keep me on track to make sure I cover some important material with you. We're looking, I think, at about 45 minutes here today, and then about some Q&A. So with that being said, let's get started. And where we will start today is just a couple, a little bit of background about OpenEye and us as a company in general, right? So if we kind of start from left to right here, we have about 25,000 systems deployed. And so, we've been in business for about 20 years, but about 10 years ago, our leadership team made the hard decision to say, hey, the cloud is the future. We need to kind of retool and build a cloud platform from the ground up, right? So what you're seeing here is the OpenEye Web Services platform. It's got a lot of legs underneath it, and we've got well over 25,000 systems deployed here in North America here today. And what's really great about that is that system, OpenEye Web Service, has been around for almost 7 years now. So the platform's got years of foundation built underneath it. It's not just kind of some startup that's kind of popped into the scene here recently that kind of might go through some of those early adoption growing pains. We've really kind of leveled out all the bumps in the road and built a good platform underneath the whole product here. Customer service is huge for us. As you can maybe see here in the background, that's a picture of our headquarters in Liberty Lake, Washington, just right outside of Spokane, Washington here in the Pacific Northwest. We do all of our product development there, a lot of our hardware assemblies there, such as servers. And then one thing is also having all of our tech support down there, right? So tech support, our OpenEye employees are not, just reading off of a script. They know the platform and they're under the same roof as our developers. So service is a big piece of what we do. And then one key thing is that, we were acquired by Alarm.com just over 2 years ago. And that's something we certainly are happy about. It's been a great acquisition. And that's kind of in that third point over there in regards to the, 160 employees plus, where, we're growing, even through this pandemic. We've had a tremendous amount of growth this year, and then next year, we're really kind of doubling down on that and really growing our staff even further. So, the foundation underneath the OpenEye platform as a product is strong. We've got that backing of, and we've been through that major acquisition. So we've really got a clear path moving forward. So you're really not kind of, looking at a platform that could be here today, but not here tomorrow. That certainly, isn't the case, with OpenEye here and in our projection moving forward. So enough about OpenEye, right? So as a company, here's really where we get into the technical conversation. Where we'll start here is our system architecture and cloud video in general. And I think, cloud video and cloud anything and really any technical industry these days is, and the word cloud is a little bit ambiguous. It can mean a lot of different things, especially in our world right here, right? So if I go in, I'll pull up this laser pointer and kind of highlight on the left here that we've got a couple ways of skinning the cat, maybe a camera hogging a bunch of bandwidth and sending that video straight to the cloud, or maybe some bridge device that helps kind of manage that and not have to, completely bog down the network 24/7, or instead of having some bridge device, storing some video on a camera, and then maybe at a later date pushing it up or doing some sort of archive to the cloud, right? Our system is really highlighted here in blue. And so one key thing is it's an open platform. We do have our own set of cameras, but our secret sauce is really the OWS platform. You can really go in, take over third-party IP cameras, analog cameras, bring them into the ecosystem of OpenEye, and really what that is really storing the video there on the server and then using the cloud to bring the system into the 21st century. And what does that really mean? Keep in mind that the cameras are storing the video to the cloud, or to the NVR, excuse me. We're really not doing a ton of, video being stored in the cloud. You can really just manually kind of export some clips up there, or if you're sharing a clip, you're essentially pulling that clip into the cloud and emailing a link to it. We pretty much think of it as like our own Dropbox kind of embedded into OWS. Just makes sharing video clips very, very simple. And it gives you a lot of benefits. What that really does is it gives you the convenience and flexibility of, a traditional VMS system, because you can put your high resolution cameras on there and not have to worry about, sucking up too much bandwidth and the cost of, having a data center like AWS or Azure storing all that video for you. But you get the convenience and flexibility of that data center experience. We host OWS in Amazon Web Services, and that really, what we've really done is taken the lightweight stuff and put that up into the cloud, right? So user management, now all that's really kind of stored up there in the cloud. No longer have to go to, each individual site to go in and edit users or do any sort of like VPN tunneling, port forwarding, or anything like that. You just get a recorder, plug it into the network, type in a registration code, and generally if port 443 or port 80 are open, you'll be able to connect to the system remotely and get in there and start making changes from there. So it makes it really easy for kind of your entry level technician to just get the cameras routed to the NVR, and then really from there, from the back office, a lot of the fine tuning and commissioning of the system can be done. And we'll kind of get into that piece of it a little bit more here later. But yeah, so I'll get, as you can see, there's a lot of benefits that the cloud really gives you. In a nutshell, we'll highlight that as we move along here. Now, a quick glimpse of the platform is it's very simple to use, right? As you can see here, when you access the system, you either just go to a browser and type in your email address and password, and then you're right into the system. So, one of those key things about being in the cloud is that you don't have to necessarily deal with clunky software that's downloaded onto, workstations or laptops or whatever that might be. We've also got a purpose-built mobile app by OpenEye that's free to download in the iOS or Android market. That's highlighted here in the middle. And then if you do want that, thick client experience, we do still have a deployable thick client here. And you can see between the thick client and the browser, they both look basically identical here. So there's really not a lot of difference when, navigating between the two. So that's a little bit about OpenEye as a company, a little bit about our architecture and our system. And before I get into a demo of the system here, which will be sort of the last step, I really want to get into VSaaS and what does software as a service mean in the video world. So as you can see here, this is kind of a funny graphic of, maybe someone that's just out there selling your everyday product, and, maybe not driving too much level of service and anything that the end user really cares about these days, towards someone here that is selling a service and really sitting down with the customer and figuring out a plan and a better way of doing business and right by them, right? So what does that really look like? With a traditional service or product, what you kind of look like is potentially an end user has a system deployed there. They've got cameras, an NVR, and let's say something goes wrong, and they realize that their place has been broken into. They go to the video system and they try to pull video, and they realize that the camera was down, right? So what they'll do is they'll, typically pick up the phone, reach out to that system integrator, and say, hey, can you please send a technician out here immediately and figure out what's wrong with my system? I tried to pull a video clip and there's no video footage of this event. So that poor dealer is left scrambling, trying to find a technician that's available, maybe having to, maybe this is a new important customer that's got many more sites coming moving forward. So they go ahead and pull, a technician off of one job site, send him across town, spend a few hours on site troubleshooting to figure out what went wrong with the system. And that, technician's kind of dealing with the wrath of that end user, trying to repair, their kind of temper right there. And the best case scenario is that technician's able to say, hey, we fixed the issue. Maybe they can figure out, hey, there's the video, or maybe, hey, you know what, we weren't able to fix it, and it looks like that camera actually is down. Maybe it's in warranty, and so you say, hey, you know what, we're going to place an RMA, or we're going to order new parts. And of course, with lead times today, they might not be out there for a few weeks. But let's kind of give the benefit of the doubt and say, hey, maybe the technician's able to come back out there over the weekend, go to distribution, pick up a camera, or order a camera from your manufacturer. But the problem is now they're going back out there a second time, more billable hours, and now there's equipment involved, and now there's a second trip where the technician's really burning up a lot of time compared to. Now let's talk about like a managed services approach, right? So really what we see with our champion dealers is they've got some sort of centralized support. I think on steroids, we're looking at some sort of NOC or network operations center where, the OpenEye platform is able to send them alerts and reports where they can go in and update firmware on a camera, update, software on a server, power cycle, PoE ports, all that kind of good stuff, right? And so what's nice about that is now, though that dealer with that type of setup has the ability to go in and receive a health alert. So before the end user gets their place broken into, realizes that they don't have any video, and they're going crazy and completely upset, now you're able to go in and say, hey, that camera was offline for 4 hours this weekend, and it dropped offline 3 different times. Let's tunnel into the web GUI of that camera. Let's power cycle it. Let's update the firmware. Maybe let's even hop on the phone with OpenEye tech support, your remote service team, and, fixing that before there's even an issue. Worst case scenario, you figure out, hey, that camera's down. We're going to place an RMA, or we're going to just order a new camera or pull one from stock. And you reach out to that end user and say, hey, you know what? We got a notification that there was a camera down. We tried to fix this, and we're going to actually have to come on site and fix this for you. Now you're really scheduling it with them. They're not, at that point, generally too upset. And then now you're able to send a technician on site with a camera, accessories on hand, rip and replace that camera, maybe do a little bit of last second, troubleshooting right then and there. And then when it's all said and done, the end user saves a lot of money. The integrator saves a lot of money. Everyone is just much more happier because now we're not dealing with the tug of war of, maybe doing a favor and having a go back and having to go and maybe give them a free service call and take it on the chin ourselves, or bill that customer and completely kind of traumatize that relationship. So we're kind of ponder that, and in the same sense think about, I'm not really going to get into the numbers of pricing here, but what I do think about with a VSaaS solution is think about it as sort of an alarm, selling it like an alarm system. And I think the whole kind of service aspect is imperative with those systems. But in regards to pricing too, you think about where with our licenses, we really give that upfront savings to the customer if they're buying like a monthly license, especially, or maybe even just like an annual license. And what's great about that is now essentially when that system is installed and it's and that system is being bidded and priced to the end user, all they're really paying for is that first month. It's like when you pay for Xbox Live or you pay for Netflix, you can pay for something annually and maybe pay $100, or you can pay, maybe $6 or $7 a month, right? It's kind of that same sense of, hey, let's give them some upfront cost and savings to really make it attractive, right? And so you're kind of doing it in like the alarms sales sense of, hey, let's get them into the system, and then over time, maybe after a year, 8 months, or a year and a half, depending on where you kind of mark up your annual licenses and the services you put behind it, you'll kind of reach your break-even point, and then from there, it's all just profitable return on investment. And really, what you're seeing here is just options of packages. Maybe we say, hey, we'll give them a basic setup where they can just access their system, and we'll just kind of be there as a support mechanism. Maybe you go into like a second tier, or offer like a 2 tiers or 3 tiers, and really kind of put some more human element into it, right? Where now you're going to go in and perform software updates for them on maybe a quarterly basis. You're really going to proactively manage every single alert that comes into the system, right? And then maybe on like the premium approach, where you're certainly charging more on a monthly basis per camera, where you could say, hey, now maybe even to the extent of, if something happens and you want me to dive in and scrub the video and help you export that video to your lawyer or your insurance agent, we can do that. And the beautiful thing about that is you're not having to send a technician once again on site to do any of those things that we just talked about. So really, we're just essentially giving you a tool to go in and add, a true service behind it. You're pretty much getting a software platform that you can go in and add a next level of service that's going to be profitable for you as a company. And once again, in the end, save that end user a lot of headache, right? So, generally I'd open this up for some questions, but for now, right, we're going to save that till the end. And what I will do is really kind of dive here into a demo of our platform. And what I'm going to do is log into the system from the browser, right? So just pardon me for 1 second here. So to get access into the system, a couple of things I mentioned is the mobile app, the browser, and the command station. What we see statistically is most folks are using the mobile app and the browser, certainly much more than what we call command station, the thick client. What I'll show you here is the browser, because once again, this is where the brains of the system is really residing. All that cloud management that I talked about earlier, such as users, alerts, all that great stuff, is here programmed in the browser. So it's browser agnostic. For the most part, you can access this from Safari, Google Chrome, Firefox, Edge. Internet Explorer is really the one I would kind of tend to stay away from these days. So one thing that's nice about the system is it's very accessible. It's just going to be, instead of having some random username that you as a channel partner might need to try to memorize, or they need to memorize, it's just their email address, generally their business email address, right? And then they'll set up their own password. And so if they ever forget their password, they don't have to call you and bug you about that. Now that's just something they can do on their own. They can click forget password, they get a link, and they go in and troubleshoot that themselves. We've actually just released this nice landing dashboard where you can go in and get some nice news about OpenEye, and you can see if there's sort of any alerts, new news, a lot of good stuff here for you. But where the meat is up here in your accounts and in alerts, right? So you'll want to go in here to accounts and take a look at all of your customers. So let's say you've got 7 or 8 different OpenEye customers, and they might have multiple sites underneath each one, right? So let's say you've got a regional coffee shop or a property manager, and they've got 10 different properties. All 10 would be listed, really kind of right under here. So I'll click on this demo system that we have. And what I want to show you is one of these things that the cloud really makes so simple for us, right? So if I wanted to go in and add a user to the system, let's say, we've got that remote support, and one of those end users calls us and says, hey, we've got someone coming into our IT team. We want to add them as a user. Really, we'll just go in here to user management. And essentially, we're just going to email them a link to get access to the system, right? So click add new user, and you'll just essentially say, hey, first name, last name, email address. So that's my personal email address right there. And then essentially, you'll just funnel them into a group, right? And so, the system's going to come pre-programmed with a guest, super user, and an admin. So let's say, hey, we want to put them as an admin, probably as if they're an IT person, or for the sake of this example, just add someone here as a guest. And that's really kind of it right there. From the next step would be that user gets that email. They click the link, set up their password, and you can actually program how intense that password needs to be, right? So if you don't want people using ABC123, you want them to have capitalized characters, special characters, periods, exclamation points, money signs, whatever that might be. You can completely customize that within the platform here. You can also go in and set up alerts and reports very easily. So one of the really neat reports I'll show you is really our image verification report, right? And so this is something that you can have potentially just emailed to the end user, or this can come into your team and really kind of manage the field, the cameras of them. So it doesn't look like that popped up there. I'll go back into a different account here and try to pull that up. Excuse me. So once again, I'll go back into my list of accounts, and let's try this one right here. Once again, I will click reports, and we can go into what I called the day-night image report, right? And so really what you'll see here is a list of cameras and the field of view and what the camera is looking at. And what you're really essentially looking at is, a daytime and a nighttime image. If you can see the time here, this is a snapshot every day at noon, and then a snapshot right before midnight. So this is just a really clean way to go through your customers right here. Maybe it's like a school district, right? And they, during winter break, they might have, a camera or a poster that's waving and, constantly causing motion. And because it's, getting blown by the HVAC, or, it's just a camera that looks incredibly dirty because it's been installed for a few years and a spider, was attracted to the lights around the camera. And they built a big web around the camera. Or even something like this where you can see, hey, maybe we want to move this camera to the left a little bit and get that glaring light of the light nearby out of the field of view. Really just a nice clean report that, once again, you could just say, hey, as a basic level of service with no additional cost, Mr. and Mrs. End User, this report is going to be sent to you once a month, or maybe twice a month, right? And give us a call if anything goes wrong. Or maybe for that next level of service, you say, hey, you know what? We're going to take a look at this report for you every month, or maybe twice a month for just a little extra fee per month. And we'll go in and pull this report. And if there's something wrong in the field of view of the camera, we'll go in and fix it remotely, right? So just one of these tools for you to kind of imagine how you could parlay this as a way to generate more revenue and more service for your client, right? And then there's the proactive alerts as well. So what we can go in here is set up a health alert. And I won't go through for the sake of time setting up a new one, but it's very easy to do. All of our alerts are just right here. And essentially what you'll do is pick a system, like basically pick a recorder that it's going to be tied to. And then you'll set things up like, hey, am I going to get notifications based off of a duration of when a camera is down? So you could say, hey, I want to know if the camera's been down for 15 minutes or if it's been down for an hour, 3 hours, 4 hours, if the hard drives are having issues, if their internet has been lost, or maybe like even what we see here where, cannabis is legal, where you could say, hey, this customer has to have a 90-day threshold. I want to be alerted if they ever drop below that 90 days of storage on their server, right? So a lot of ways to just proactively have that sent to you as a service provider to them. And what that really looks like is a nice clean email right here. You can click this little button right here to go in and view that. And it'll take you right into that alert right here. So we can see that this is, a camera that had an issue. You can see it was at the end of October, and that camera was down for 2 hours. One thing that's really nice here is, your center, maybe your NOC or the folks that are managing this, they can go in and acknowledge this. But if this is not acknowledged, that generally means, hey, this is a new issue that none of us have looked at yet. Let's go in and maybe troubleshoot this. So we've got this link right here into that recorder. And keep in mind, this is completely remote. This is essentially something that you can do from your operations center and dive right into that recorder through this link right here and start troubleshooting that system remotely. You can go in and power cycle the PoE port, update the firmware of that camera, update the software on that server, whatever that might be, just by clicking this link right here. I'm going to take a step back and go into show you really what the kind of the video looks like, right? So I'm going to grab this demo server right here. And really what we try to do is keep this platform very simple and easy to use. So as you can see in Spokane, Washington, it's snowing, right? And really what's nice here is you might be asking, okay, why did it bring me into this camera when it was, zoomed in right here? The last time I did a demo, I was showing this camera, or literally the last time I accessed this platform, I was showing this camera. So really kind of the method behind that is if you're ever working, through the system, and let's say the browser just kind of freezes, right? And that's already happened once during this demo, and you just need to click refresh right here. Let's say you're scrubbing through some video and you're, kind of tracking someone through an event, and you click refresh. It's not going to take you all the way back to just the beginning. It's going to take you to exactly right where you left off. And you might not even kind of see that here as we show you this here live. Speaking of live, we are showing live video. If you want to get into the recorded section of video, you just click search right here. And then now it brings up the timeline, of course, and you can see, any sort of event is highlighted here in light blue. And when there are no events, it's in dark blue. So pretty active scene that we've got here right now. If you want to pull up multiple cameras, you can go in here and let me move my Zoom thing. And now you can click, maybe a 4-camera grid, maybe even like a 16-camera grid, right? And, now all these cameras really kind of start to populate on the screen here. So I'm connecting to the system here remotely using my my mobile hotspot. So a little bit slower than usual on my end, it seems. Let me just quickly refresh this here. But generally, even with limited bandwidth, you can see how quick this pops up, right? We really do a great job of managing bandwidth. Essentially, the system's only going to stream what you're asking it for. So if we're looking at 16 cameras, we're not going to be pushing through that full, 4K resolution, right? We're really just going to be sending a lower stream to each of these little image tiles. But let's say we do want to go back to, maybe this front entrance camera right here. And I believe this is a 4K camera. and I'll click on that on-screen display and go into a high definition motion event here. And you'll see that now we're really pulling through that full 4K resolution of video right there, compared to when this wasn't full screen. We're only pulling through maybe like a 720p video stream when there's not motion. Let's see here. So let's take a look at maybe like an indoor camera here. So we've got some really quick ways to search through video. One of them is just doing like an object search. So we can click right here and say, hey, we want to figure out whenever there's kind of motion right around this refrigerator right here. Maybe we want to figure out when someone's lunch was stolen, right? So let's go back to Wednesday of last week, and we'll take a look between maybe 10 and 12 p.m. So we're looking at about 2 hours of video right here, and we'll click search. So really, it's just nice to just say, hey, we know where something happened, like maybe when someone's purse was stolen, when a car was broken into, or for this instance, when someone was stealing people's lunch. So you really just kind of click right here, and now you're really just kind of looking for motion within that field of view, which makes it really nice and easy. And maybe you just kind of look through each of these little image tiles and wait to find when someone actually goes in and looks like they've opened up the refrigerator door, or if they're maybe kind of playing around with some food right there, right? So let's pull up this video clip as an example. And maybe this is what we would characterize as, this seems to be the person that is, taking someone's video. And maybe we saw them access the refrigerator earlier. I don't want to kind of take too much time thumbing through video clips. I think everyone kind of gets the big picture here. So the next thing with this is exporting this video. So one thing I talked about is, hey, if you're going to maybe provide a platinum level of service, and these folks are going to maybe expect you to help find video clips so that they don't have to kind of manage and learn the system on their own. And you're really kind of providing a full turnkey solution for them. We've got these nice search functions to make it really easy for your team to say, hey, when did it happen? Where was it? Get some info, go in, maybe do an object search, a thumbnail search, whatever that might be, and then go in, find that clip, and then you're just going to easily export it to them, right? So you've got a handful of options. You could, archive it onto a thumb drive with our, built-in video player that, can prove that the video wasn't edited, or send a snapshot and just email a snapshot to someone. Let's say there were like 3 or 4 cameras in this cafe and had this in different angles of this. You could, export that moment in time across multiple cameras. But really, for the sake of this demo, there is only one camera in here. So we'll just, send a 10-second clip of this incident right here. So what I did is I just scaled this down from a minute to 10 seconds. I don't generally change the video quality settings, right? So, it's generally important for folks to be able to view it on their mobile app. And then what I'll do is just give this a quick name, like lunch stolen again. So when I click export, what this is doing is it's taking that clip from the NVR. And keep in mind, NVRs on site will maybe they have 30 days of retention, 2 weeks of retention, whatever that might be. And now what we're doing is we're taking that clip, we're sending it up into the cloud, and you can see it was just exported right there. And now it's like we're uploading it into our own kind of Dropbox that's embedded here into OpenEye Web Services. Because as everybody I'm sure knows here, unless you're exporting like a 1-second clip and emailing that file, it's generally, video clips are generally too large to just email to someone. So what do? You email a link to it. And that's exactly what we've kind of built into the platform here is that ability to share video, have it password protected without having to physically put it on a thumb drive, drive across town, hand it to someone. Potentially, it's also more cyber secure because as we all know, thumb drives can have some sort of, malicious malware or whatever that might be. So if you follow the breadcrumb trail up here, just click home like I did, and then click video clips, you will be taken into what I call our embedded kind of Dropbox, OpenEye Web Services video cloud storage, right? Where now you can go in and email this clip to someone. As you can see, that's, essentially that 10-second clip that we exported. And then I can click add new share. And then this is where we essentially, email it to someone. One thing I like about this is you don't need to set up the user. If you literally just have a police officer or an insurance agent and just have their email address, you really just type that in here and then click enter. And then, then you're ready to send. Let's say you did have a group of users or individual users you would like to send this to. You could click here and say, hey, I want to send this to all the principals of a school district, or the superintendent, whatever that might be. Looks like that was kind of being buggy right there. And then you can also set an expiration date, which is really nice. So you're really getting some nice chain of custody and control around this video clip. Like, let's say this is something that's very sensitive and you don't want someone to just be able to download that and have that video clip to freely share on their own. You might not want to give that user the ability to download that video clip. So don't check this box. And then this is really the text that goes in the email. You could say, please review this today. Or, hey, this is the video clip from the downtown Hilton property, just to kind of trigger that police officer's mind or whoever that might be. And then what's really cool is, let's say I logged in and viewed that video clip. You could see if I've viewed the clip, if I've downloaded it, once, of course, if I had that permission to do so, then you would see some numbers pop up here to see how many times I've viewed it, how many times I've downloaded it. So, it's nice. Like, let's say you share the video clip with 5 people and then all of a sudden it winds up on YouTube. You've really got some nice, chain of custody here. And, even like with like a local school, there was actually a school here in Washington that unfortunately had a very tragic event happen on campus. And the police officials, were continually essentially, trying to subpoena and get information of who exported the video clip. So what's nice is, that information can't be changed. That's essentially right here. So it really makes it easy for, if, folks are and the police are involved with a very tragic event. There's really some nice information here that they'll actually really kind of need, like, who exported this video clip. Last but not least, if you wanted to remove access to that video clip and essentially kill the link, this doesn't delete the clip, but you wanted to say, hey, I don't want that person to access that link anymore, click this little blue check mark and they can't access that video clip anymore. Right. So, that's in the short time we have today. I'll kind of leave it at that. We're just right up at the buzzer. It's 11:40, 11:45. I don't want to kind of overwhelm. I think it's we'll kind of leave some of this for follow-up here, but I think really in a nutshell, what we're looking at here is OpenEye is a tool for you to go out and provide a new level of service, right? And what we're kind of seeing here in the market is, now it's not just, hey, here's a server that has really no control over the network. We're just going to kind of leave it be, give us a call if something goes wrong, or here's a service agreement and we'll come out and fix it. Now we have these organizations really selling a true, video software as a service and saying, hey, we're going to come out and we're going to actually manage the system for you. You don't want to have to deal with all the burden of software updates, or you don't want to have to deal with, troubleshooting things as they go wrong. Essentially, we'll come in and we'll manage this entire thing for you for just, a small fee every month. And once again, what's nice about that is those monthly licenses are not expensive. So this is a really attractive way to get someone into a system at a very affordable upfront cost that has a ton of benefit here for them as a user and as a business owner that generally doesn't want to honestly worry about their video system. They just want to have it working and know that when they go to it, it's going to be reliable. And once again, OpenEye really gives you that platform to, wave the flag and promote your organization as an organization that has the tools to back that up. So, with that, Riley, I guess I'll kick it over to you to open it up for questions if you'd like.
Awesome. So we invite Everyone who's attending today, if you have any questions right now, feel free to click the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen and submit a question. Looks like we do have a few questions in the queue. First question, can you use third-party cameras with your system?
Yeah, that's a great question. So you absolutely can use third-party cameras with OpenEye web services. We're a true open platform. One thing that's really nice is you can even record on motion on an RTSP stream. So let's say that specific camera manufacturer and their on-diff stream is unreliable. We could actually go into our software and draw motion boxes or motion regions and record on motion. So in my time in the industry, a lot of, I'd say VMS platforms are really good on pulling in cameras and finding them, but it was always the caveat of recording on motion. And so, we've really taken that to the next level where that server is going to process the motion. And so you're not really reliant on the on-diff stream that the camera's spitting out. And so, yeah, we treat every manufacturer of cameras really the same. There's no additional cost to use their cameras or our cameras. And what's really nice about the platform is you can really go into someone with analog or IP cameras and plug those into the OpenEye system and bring them into a true managed services platform without having to rip and replace all their cameras or replace all their analog cabling, so on and so forth. So yeah, great question.
Cool. So next question, can you clarify if the video is stored in the cloud or premise?
Yeah, absolutely. So the video is stored on premise. So what that really gives us is a reliable way of doing this, right? So I think nowadays, unless someone's really willing to pay for very high speed internet, now they don't really have to rely on that and bogging down their network of sending all the cameras up into the cloud. That video is just stored on site. And actually, if you're on site accessing the system, video is not going to unnecessarily horseshoe up into the cloud and then back into, back through the wide area network onto your local network. It'll just route through your local area network through something that we call LAN smart forwarding. But to answer your question, kind of getting off track there. Yes, so the video is stored on site, and we see that as a key advantage to the system because I think if you take a look at others that do a lot of cloud storage, our fees, our licensing fees are a fraction because we're not writing a big check to Amazon Web Services because we're not taking up a lot of space in their data centers. It's kind of just a fraction of that. And then also, I think a lot of those systems, it sounds great to say, hey, I'm just going to let these data centers kind of manage my video for me, but we still hear a lot of horror stories of things really not being perfect. So I think it can be kind of tough when someone's paying a lot of money for a cloud hosted solution, but they're really not getting the benefits of that. They're still having cameras drop offline. They're still kind of having all those issues. And so we really give someone an affordable way to manage that without having to pay those astronomical fees that are hard to live up to, in my opinion. But one thing I will say about that is OpenEye Web Services was designed to have that recording component as something that can easily be changed out, right? So right now we store on site. We are looking into, abilities to send clips up to the cloud automatically. So let's say you had a camera overlooking your IT closet, and anytime a person walks into the field of view of that camera, like in a smash and grab situation, you want that clip automatically dumped up into the cloud. That's something we'll be releasing here shortly. And then, really it's easy for us to say, hey, you know what, maybe we're going to start offering cameras with onboard storage, or we're going to move the storage to the data center. What's really nice is all this will still look the same. It's just, hey, where's the media being stored, right? But all of your user management is already centralized. All of your reporting, your networking is already centralized through the cloud. So we've really kind of built a platform that's future-proofed in regards to where we might have the video stored one day.
Great. And it looks like we have one more question. If anyone in the audience has a question, now is the time to ask. But it looks like this is our last one. The question is the system locked into a subscription?
No, so the system is not locked into a subscription. necessarily, right? So if someone, let's say they stop paying for the system, they're still going to have local access to the system. They can log in and keyboard video or keyboard monitor and mouse and pull video and whatnot. But they're certainly going to lose a lot of the major aspects of what we kind of showed here with like the remote capabilities. But it's not like their system's going to be completely bricked because they can still access their system, they're on site. And then also the fact that we're an open platform. Let's say they did just want to move to a new platform moving forward. Our cameras are on VIF. We also have, Windows-based servers, so they could, put another piece of software on our servers. Or if they wanted to just move to a different camera manufacturer, they could do that too. So, it's not like they're locked into our cloud, our cameras. If you stop paying that subscription, you're gonna have to rip and replace all of that. That's certainly not the case.
Gotcha. Well, it looks like that was our last question. Thank you so much for this great presentation. So quick question, how can our audience contact you, Jordan, if they're interested in OpenEye?
Yeah, you got it. So you can go here to take a look at, I guess my contact information isn't there. I would say go to the OpenEye website. So if you just type in openeye.net here and go into support, you should be able to find or I think you actually scroll down here and find someone's, contact information. Or go in here and just call our number and say, hey, I want to get in contact with the representative in my region. I cover the Pacific Northwest. There's about 15 of us all throughout the nation covering different areas. So yeah.
Cool. Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much. And we're excited to have future webinars with you. Thank you for everything. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for having us, Riley. We really appreciate it.
Okay, goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.